The silent guardians awaken. In the depths of Antarctica's ancient ice, Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless, her breath creating small clouds in the frigid air. The scanner in her hand emitted a soft blue glow, illuminating what should have been impossible, a perfectly geometric structure buried 3 kilometers beneath the surface, untouched for millions of years. Dr. Chen, you need to see this. Marcus, her research partner, called from the adjacent chamber they'd carved through the ice. His voice trembled with a mixture of awe and fear. The energy readings, they're off the charts. The structure they'd discovered wasn't just artificial. It was active. Faint pulses of energy rippled through its metallic surface, creating patterns that defied known physics. This wasn't a natural formation, nor was it of recent human origin. It had been waiting here, dormant, since long before humanity's first civilizations. Sarah's comm unit crackled to life. Dr. Chen, we're picking up something entering the solar system. Director Hayes's voice was tense. Multiple objects, moving faster than anything we've ever tracked. They're not natural, and they're not ours. The timing couldn't be coincidence. After millennia of silence, both humanity's past and its future were converging in a single moment. How many? Sarah asked, her fingers tracing the strange symbols etched into the structure's surface. 17 vessels, each roughly the size of Manhattan. And they're being pursued. The structure beneath Sarah's fingers pulsed stronger, as if responding to the news. Decades of theoretical xenorchaeology hadn't prepared her for this moment. The hypothesis she dedicated her career to. That humanity wasn't alone, and that something had been protecting Earth, was about to be tested. Director, I need immediate clearance to activate the defense grid. The what? The network we've been studying. It's not just one site in Antarctica. There are 7 others, positioned strategically around the globe. They're connected, forming a defensive perimeter that's been dormant for millions of years. A new voice joined the conversation. This is General Rivera of the Joint Chiefs. Doctor, you have exactly 1 minute to explain why we should trust alien technology we just found. Sarah's voice was steady as she replied. Because, General, it's not alien technology. It's ours. Human. Just. Not from any civilization we remember. The silence that followed was deafening. The symbols we found, the mathematical principles encoded in its structure, they're based on human cognitive patterns. This wasn't built by visitors. It was built by our ancestors. A human civilization so advanced they could manipulate quantum fields, but one that fell so completely we forgot they ever existed. The scanner beeped urgently. The pursuing vessels had entered the inner solar system. General, those ships entering our system. The ones in front are carrying refugees. I can see their energy signatures, their damage, desperate. The ones chasing them. Sarah paused, checking the readings again. They're not here to make friends. Through her comm, she could hear the chaos erupting in command centers worldwide. Radar stations were lighting up, satellite networks were tracking the incoming vessels, and every military force on Earth was scrambling to respond. But they didn't have time for a military response. The pursuing ships would reach Earth in hours, not days. The defense grid, Sarah continued, it's not just a weapon. It's a message from our past, left by those who came before. They knew this day would come. They prepared us for it. General Rivera's voice returned, harder now. And if you're wrong, then we're dead anyway. Those ships chasing the refugees, their energy output suggests weapons that could crack our planet in half. Our most advanced missiles would be like throwing rocks at a battleship. Director Hayes spoke next. Sarah, if we do this, if we activate technology we barely understand, there's no going back. Earth will be revealed to the galaxy. Everything changes. Sarah looked at the structure before her, its pulses growing stronger, more insistent. In its surface, she could see her own reflection, distorted by the strange metallic alloy. Behind her, Marcus stood ready at a secondary console, waiting for her decision. "Everything's already changed," she said. "The only question is whether we face it with every advantage our ancestors left us, or we die wondering what might have been." The pursuing ships had passed Mars' orbit. "Do it," General Rivera ordered. Sarah pressed her palm against the central panel. The structure recognized her DNA, human DNA, and hummed to life. Around the globe, 7 other sites activated simultaneously, each one a node in a network designed to protect Earth. The effect was immediate and awesome. A shimmering field of quantum energy expanded from each site, interlocking in Earth's upper atmosphere. The defense grid, dormant for millions of years, awakened to serve its purpose once more. And it wasn't just a shield. As the system came fully online, Sarah watched in amazement as hidden hangars opened in mountains and under oceans worldwide. Ancient vessels, their designs both familiar and alien, powered up for the first time in eons. Humanity's forgotten legacy was revealing itself. The refugee ships were closer now, their distress signals finally reaching Earth's sensors. Their message was clear. They were the last survivors of a dozen worlds, fleeing from an enemy that had already destroyed hundreds of civilizations. An enemy that had just found Earth. Sarah touched her comm unit one final time. "General Director, the defense grid is online, but it's not the only thing our ancestors left us. Those hangars opening up around the world, they're not just shelters." She looked at the holographic display showing Earth's orbital space. The pursuing ships were decelerating, probably surprised by the sudden appearance of the defense grid. But they weren't stopping. They're shipyards. Our ancestors left us a fleet, and if I'm reading these systems correctly, they left us something else too: the knowledge of how to use it. The first of the refugee ships entered Earth's orbit, passing through a carefully opened gap in the defense grid. Behind them, their pursuers prepared to attack. "Dr. Chen," General Rivera's voice was calm now, "you've given us the shields. What's your recommendation about the fleet?" Sarah watched as more data streamed across her console. The defense grid wasn't just protecting Earth, it was scanning their enemies, analyzing their weaknesses, preparing battle strategies, just as it had been designed to do. "General, I recommend we show them exactly why you don't threaten humanity's home." Around the world, ancient engines roared to life. A fleet of ships, hidden for millions of years, rose to defend Earth once more. And in orbit, the pursuing forces were about to learn a lesson that had been forgotten by time. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology, but its determination to survive. The battle for Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, was about to begin. Project Phoenix Rising. The ancient fleet rose from Earth like a swarm of metal stars, their hulls gleaming with patterns that seemed to bend light itself. In the orbital command center hastily established within the defense grid's network, Dr. Sarah Chen watched alongside General Rivera as humanity's forgotten armada took formation. 643 ships, Marcus reported, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. The smallest is about the size of an aircraft carrier. The largest, he paused, double-checking his readings. The largest could house a small city. The refugee vessels had safely passed through Earth's defensive screen, now holding position behind the planet's lunar orbit. Their pursuers, 17 massive warships that blazed with malevolent energy, had spread into an attack formation. "We're receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet," Lieutenant Park announced from her communication station. "Audio and visual." General Rivera nodded. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The holographic display shifted, revealing a being that seemed to be composed of crystalline structures and dark energy. Its voice resonated through the command center, speaking perfect English. "Primitive world, you harbor fugitives from justice. Surrender them immediately, or we will add your species to our collection." Sarah studied the being's image, noting how the crystal structures pulsed with each word. The defense grid's ancient databases were already analyzing the transmission, comparing it to historical records left by humanity's ancestors. "Collection?" Rivera asked, his voice hard. "Your ancestors knew us well. The crystalline being replied, "We are the harvesters. We collect civilizations, preserve their essence, and add their biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. It is an honor to be chosen." Sarah's console beeped as the analysis completed. "General," she said quietly, "according to the ancient records, the harvesters were the reason our ancestors built all of this. They're planet killers, technological parasites that absorb entire species." A harvester continued, "Your defensive technology is impressive for such a young race, but we detect the energy signatures of ancient human design. You have inherited weapons you cannot hope to understand. Surrender them, along with the refugees, and we will make your collection swift and painless." Rivera straightened his uniform, a calm settling over him. "This is General Michael Rivera of Earth's United Defense Command. We understand exactly who and what you are." He paused, allowing a small smile. "And we decline your offer." The harvester's crystalline form flickered with what might have been amusement. "You have 5 minutes to reconsider before we begin your collection." As the transmission ended, Sarah's hands flew across her console. "The defense grid's giving us access to tactical data. The harvester's ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. Our ancestors fought them before." "Successfully?" Rivera asked. "The records are incomplete, but they suggest a stalemate. The harvesters withdrew from this sector of space millions of years ago. Maybe they thought we'd devolved, lost our technology. They clearly weren't expecting to find their old enemy's weapons waiting for them." Marcus called out from his station, "Enemy ships are charging weapons. Energy readings are off the charts." Rivera's voice remained steady. "Dr. Chen, please tell me our inherited fleet knows how to fight." Sarah's fingers danced across ancient controls that somehow felt familiar. "Better than that, General. The ships are designed to work together, like neurons in a brain. And they've been waiting a very long time to fulfill their purpose." The harvester fleet opened fire first, launching beams of concentrated dark energy that could shear continents. But Earth's defense grid flared to life, quantum fields absorbing and dispersing the attack. Behind this shield, humanity's ancient armada moved with perfect coordination. Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Marcus shouted, "The refugee ships are calling them. The Resistance." Dozens of vessels appeared behind the harvester fleet, ships of various designs representing the surviving free species of the galaxy. They had followed the refugees, hoping that the legends of Earth's ancient defenders were true. The battle erupted in earnest. Earth's fleet moved with impossible grace, their weapons targeting the harvester's weaknesses with devastating precision. The ancient ships seemed to anticipate their enemies' every move, as if they had fought this war countless times before. The defense grid isn't just protecting us, Sarah realized, watching the data stream across her console. It's learning, adapting. Every attack they launched teaches us more about their capabilities. A harvester vessel exploded in a burst of dark energy, its crystalline structure shattering under the combined fire of Earth's fleet and the resistance forces. Then another fell, and another. The remaining harvesters began to retreat, their formation breaking apart. "They're running," Marcus breathed. "No," Sarah corrected, studying the tactical display. "They're regrouping. This was just a scouting force. The real battle hasn't even begun." The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had won its first engagement, but the harvesters wouldn't take this defeat lightly. They would return with a force large enough to overwhelm even the ancient defenses. "Dr. Chen," Rivera said, "how long do we have?" Sarah consulted the defense grid's calculations. Based on their retreat vector and known harvester tactics from the ancient records, 3 days, maybe 4. They'll bring everything they have. Earth just became their primary target. Why? Because we helped the refugees. "No," Sarah replied, watching as the refugee ships began docking with Earth's orbital facilities. "Because we proved the ancient humans' technology still works. We're not just a primitive world anymore. We're their old enemies reborn. And this time, they'll try to make sure we stay dead." Rivera nodded, understanding. Then we have 3 days to learn everything we can from our ancestors' legacy, to master weapons and ships that have been sleeping for millions of years. He turned to address the command center. Send word to every government, every military force on Earth. As of this moment, we are at war. As the command center erupted into activity, Sarah studied the tactical displays showing their ancient fleet regrouping in orbit. The ships moved like a single organism, their patterns complex yet purposeful. Humanity had inherited more than just weapons. They had inherited a responsibility. The refugee ships were now safely docked, their survivors beginning to disembark into Earth's orbital stations. Among them were scientists, warriors, and leaders from dozens of species, all united in their resistance against the harvesters. "General," Sarah said, "I think it's time we showed our guests exactly what humanity has been keeping in reserve. The defense grid and this fleet, they're just the beginning." The holographic display shifted to show a massive structure hidden beneath the lunar surface, its purpose still unknown. Whatever their ancestors had left there, Sarah knew it would be crucial in the coming battle. The war for survival had begun, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy why they had once been both feared and respected. The harvesters thought they had found an easy target. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. And this time, humanity wasn't fighting alone. The quantum gambit. 3 days passed like seconds. In the cavernous lunar facility that humanity's ancestors had hidden beneath the moon's surface, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a piece of technology that shouldn't have been possible. The quantum core pulsed with an inner light that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "The harvesters are coming," Marcus announced through the facility's comm system. "Long-range sensors detect over 3,000 ships. They'll reach our solar system within 6 hours." Sarah barely heard him. Her attention was fixed on the ancient data streaming across her tablet. "This is it," she whispered. "This is how they did it. How our ancestors fought the harvesters to a standstill." General Rivera's hologram appeared beside her. "Doctor, we're running out of time. What exactly are we looking at?" "It's called the quantum nexus," Sarah replied, gesturing to the massive spherical structure that dominated the lunar chamber. "Our ancestors didn't just build better weapons. They found a way to turn the harvesters' own technology against them." The facility hummed with activity as human scientists worked alongside refugee experts, racing to understand the ancient technology before the enemy arrived. The alliance forged in desperation had quickly evolved into something more, a synthesis of knowledge spanning galaxies. "The harvesters' power comes from their ability to manipulate dark energy," explained Cathal, a refugee physicist whose crystalline skin sparkled under the facility's lights. "They use it to break down matter at the quantum level, absorbing the energy and information of entire civilizations." "But our ancestors found their weakness," Sarah continued, pulling up complex diagrams in the air between them. "The quantum nexus doesn't just shield against their attacks, it reverses them. Every bit of energy they throw at us makes us stronger." Rivera's hologram nodded slowly. "That's why they retreated millions of years ago. They couldn't defeat us without making us more powerful." "Exactly. But they've evolved since then. The attacks we saw 3 days ago, they've refined their technology. They're stronger now. Are we ready?" Rivera asked, his hologram flickering as interference from the approaching harvester fleet began to affect communications. Sarah looked at the quantum nexus, its surface now alive with patterns of light. "We have to be. The defense grid is fully operational. Our fleet is coordinated with the resistance forces. And now," she touched a control panel, and the entire lunar facility trembled. "Now we have this." The moon's surface split open like a blooming flower, revealing what had been hidden for millions of years. The quantum nexus rose from its ancient birth, its true form finally visible to the universe once more. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a ship, humanity's greatest achievement, capable of channeling the fundamental forces of reality itself. All ships, battle stations, Rivera's voice echoed through every vessel in Earth's combined fleet. "This is not a drill. We are about to engage the largest harvester force ever recorded." Sarah took her position in the Nexus's control center, surrounded by both human and alien crew members. Each had been chosen for their unique abilities and knowledge, forming a team that represented the best of multiple civilizations. "The harvesters will target the Nexus first," Thal warned, his crystals pulsing with nervous energy. "They'll recognize its signature from their ancient records." "Good," Sarah replied, her hands hovering over controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch. "That's exactly what we want." The enemy fleet dropped out of hyperspace in waves, their ships blackening space itself with their dark energy fields. 3,000 vessels, each capable of destroying a planet, arranged themselves in an attack formation that stretched from Mars to Earth's orbit. Their transmission was brief: surrender and be collected, or resist and be erased. Humanity's response came not in words, but in action. The defense grid flared to life, its quantum shields extending to protect not just Earth, but the entire inner solar system. The combined fleet of human and resistance ships moved into position, their formations guided by battle plans refined over 3 days of constant preparation. And at the center of it all, the quantum nexus began to glow with an inner fire that defied description. The harvesters struck first, just as they had 3 days ago. But this time, their attack was massive enough to shatter planets. Dark energy beams lanced through space, carrying enough power to annihilate civilizations. They struck the defense grid, and something extraordinary happened. The quantum shields didn't just absorb the attack, they transformed it. Streams of dark energy were caught in complex fields of force, twisted, reformed, and redirected. The quantum nexus pulsed, and suddenly every scrap of power the harvesters had unleashed was turned against them. "It's working," Hill shouted, his crystalline form resonating with excitement. "The energy conversion is stable." Sarah watched as the battle unfolded exactly as their ancestors had planned. The harvesters' greatest weapon, their ability to break down and absorb other civilizations, was being used to break them instead. "All ships, advance," Rivera commanded. "The Nexus has them locked down. Hit them with everything we've got." Earth's fleet surged forward, their ancient weapons blazing. The resistance ships followed, their diverse technologies complementing humanity's inherited power. And through it all, the quantum nexus continued its work, turning the harvesters' own strength into their greatest vulnerability. Ship after ship began to fall, their dark energy weapons becoming their undoing. But the harvesters fought with the desperation of a force that had never known defeat, never faced an enemy they couldn't eventually overwhelm. "They're adapting," Marcus called out. "Their ships are changing formation, trying to find a pattern we can't counter." Sarah smiled grimly. "That's what our ancestors were counting on." She activated the Nexus's final protocol, the one she had discovered hidden in its deepest code. They're not the only ones who can adapt. The quantum nexus flared with impossible brightness, and for a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then reality rippled, and the true power of humanity's ancient legacy was revealed. The war for the galaxy had reached its turning point, and the universe was about to learn why the harvesters had feared humanity enough to wait millions of years before daring to return. The quantum gambit was about to pay off. Echoes of hope. The universe trembled. The quantum nexus's final protocol wasn't just a weapon, it was a fundamental rewriting of reality itself. As Sarah watched through the nexus's quantum-enhanced sensors, space warped around the harvester fleet in ways that defied conventional physics. "Energy patterns are stable," Kifl reported, his crystalline form vibrating with the sheer power flowing through the ancient vessel. "The dimensional cascade is beginning." The harvester's massive fleet found itself caught in a web of quantum forces that stripped away their technological advantages layer by layer. Their dark energy weapons, instead of destroying, began creating. Each blast they fired spawned new quantum matrices that further enhanced Earth's defenses. "This is General Rivera to all ships." The commander's voice rang through the combined fleet. "The Nexus has them trapped. Execute Operation Avalanche." Earth's fleet moved with devastating precision, their formations flowing like liquid metal through space. The resistance ships followed, their diverse weapons complementing the ancient human technology in ways that created devastating synergies. But the harvesters weren't finished. From the heart of their fleet, a massive vessel emerged, a ship that dwarfed even their largest capital ships. "By the stars," Phil whispered, "that's the Apex vessel, the Harvester's central consciousness." The Apex vessel pulsed with dark energy, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of destroyed ships like a massive, malevolent jewel. When it spoke, its message echoed through every communication system in the solar system. "Humans," the voice was both beautiful and terrible. "You have forgotten why we left you alive. Your ancestors' victory was not complete. We allowed you to survive, to develop, to reach this moment, because your species has something we need." Sarah's hands tightened on the Nexus controls. "What are you talking about?" "Adaptation," the Apex replied. "No species evolves like humanity. No civilization learns and grows with such speed. We didn't retreat millions of years ago. We waited, watched, let you develop into something even more valuable than your ancestors." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. "You were cultivating us, and now you are ready to be harvested. Your potential will serve a greater purpose." Rivera's voice cut through the command channel. "Dr. Chen, the Nexus effects are weakening. Whatever they're doing, it's starting to counter our ancestors' technology." Sarah studied the readings flooding her console. The Apex vessel was somehow generating a field that was unraveling the quantum matrices, threatening to undo everything they had accomplished. But something else was happening too. The refugee scientists working alongside the human crews had noticed a pattern in the Harvesters' attacks, a rhythm that seemed almost familiar. "Kval," Sarah called out, "your people's research into crystalline consciousness. Could it apply to them?" The alien scientist's form sparkled as he analyzed the data. Yes. The Apex vessel, it's not just a ship. It's a living crystal matrix, infinitely more complex than my own form. It thinks in patterns of resonance and harmony. And can those patterns be disrupted?" A new voice joined the conversation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading expert in quantum harmonics. She had been studying the ancient musical notations found in the lunar facility, believing them to be more than simple artistic expressions. "The ancient humans," Yuki said, her hands flying over her console, "they didn't just build weapons. They created symphonies of quantum energy. Look at the Nexus's core programming. It's written like a musical score." Sarah felt a surge of hope. "Can we use that? Create a counter-resonance?" "Better," Yuki replied. "We can turn their own symphony against them. Every ship in their fleet is connected to the Apex's consciousness. If we can disrupt that connection..." "All ships," Sarah broadcast, "prepare to receive new targeting data. Dr. Tanaka is sending you quantum frequency modulations. Time your weapon's fire exactly to these patterns." The combined fleet acknowledged, their crews working frantically to adjust their weapons. The resistance ships, though using different technologies, found ways to match the quantum harmonics. The Apex vessel began to pulse more rapidly, sensing the threat. "You cannot comprehend what you are risking. The harmony of the universe requires order, control, collection." "No," Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the Nexus's controls like a pianist at a cosmic keyboard. "The universe requires freedom, growth, change." She looked at her diverse crew, humans and aliens working together, each bringing their own unique perspectives and abilities. "It requires harmony, not control." The quantum nexus began to sing. There was no other word for it. The ancient vessel released waves of energy that resonated at frequencies that touched the fundamental forces of reality. Every ship in Earth's fleet joined the chorus, their weapons firing in perfect harmony. The resistance vessels added their own voices to the symphony, creating complex harmonies that no single civilization could have conceived alone. The effect on the Harvester fleet was devastating. The crystalline structures of their ships began to vibrate at frequencies that threatened to tear them apart. The Apex vessel's control over its fleet wavered as the quantum symphony disrupted its consciousness. "Now," Sarah commanded, "everything we have." The combined fleet struck as one, their weapons enhanced by the quantum harmonics. Ships that had stood against the greatest powers in the galaxy began to shatter, their crystalline structures breaking apart in cascading waves of destruction. The Apex vessel fought back, trying to assert its control, trying to maintain the harmony it had enforced across the galaxy for millions of years. But it was fighting against something it had never truly understood: the power of genuine cooperation, of different species choosing to work together rather than being forcibly collected into a false unity. As the battle reached its crescendo, Sarah realized that humanity's ancestors had left them more than just weapons and technology. They had left them a lesson about the true nature of strength, that it came not from domination, but from harmony freely chosen. The galaxy was about to change forever, and the echo of humanity's song would resonate through the cosmos for eons to come. The final movement of this cosmic symphony was about to begin. Dawn of a new era. The quantum symphony reached its crescendo, and the Apex vessel, the living heart of the Harvester civilization, began to crack. Fissures of light spread across its crystalline surface, each one radiating with the combined harmonics of 1,000 united species. "Energy readings are going critical," Kthal announced, his own crystalline form resonating with the frequencies flooding space. "The Apex's consciousness is destabilizing." But as the massive vessel began to break apart, Sarah noticed something in the data streams, patterns she hadn't expected. The Apex wasn't just being destroyed, it was transforming. "Wait," she called out to the fleet, "something's happening." The Apex vessel's surface fractured completely, but instead of exploding, it underwent a metamorphosis. The dark energy that had powered its destructive capabilities began to shift, changing frequency, becoming something else entirely. From the heart of the transformation, a new signal emerged, not the cold, commanding voice of before, but something more complex, more alive. "We understand now." The voice resonated through every ship's communications. "For millions of years, we sought to preserve civilizations by collecting them, controlling them, forcing them into our pattern of harmony. We were wrong." The remaining Harvester ships had stopped firing, their crystalline structures pulsing in sync with the transforming Apex. The combined fleet held position, weapons ready but waiting. "Dr. Chen," General Rivera's voice was cautious. "What exactly are we seeing?" Sarah studied the readings, understanding dawning. The quantum harmonics didn't just disrupt their consciousness, they rewrote it. Our ancestors didn't just build weapons, they created a way to heal a broken species. The transformed Apex continued, its voice growing more nuanced with each word. "Your symphony showed us what we had forgotten. True harmony cannot be forced. Real strength comes from diversity, from the complex interplay of different voices choosing to work together." Kthal's crystals flickered with emotion. They're experiencing true resonance for the first time, not the rigid control they enforced, but the natural harmony of cooperative existence. The quantum nexus's sensors revealed the full scope of what was happening. The Harvester fleet was undergoing the same transformation as their leader, their dark energy weapons reconfiguring into tools of creation rather than destruction. All those civilizations they collected, Sarah realized, all that knowledge and power, it's being released, but not destroyed. Changed, reformed. From the transformed Apex came an offer that no one had expected. "We would learn from you, all of you, not by collection, but by cooperation. The galaxy needs defenders, not conquerors." General Rivera's hologram appeared in the Nexus's command center. "Can we trust them?" Sarah looked at the quantum readings, at the fundamental changes in the crystalline being's structure. This isn't a trick, General. The harmonics didn't just defeat them, they evolved them. There's something new now, something that could help us rebuild everything they destroyed. The refugee representatives, speaking from their ships throughout the fleet, began to voice their agreement. They had seen their worlds destroyed by the harvesters, but they had also seen the power of transformation, of redemption. Perhaps, Kithel suggested, this is what your ancestors truly intended. Not just victory, but transcendence. The next few hours were historic. Representatives from Earth, the Resistance, and the transformed Harvester consciousness met aboard the Quantum Nexus. Together, they began to forge something unprecedented. An alliance that would combine the best aspects of all their civilizations. The transformed Harvesters offered their vast knowledge and power, no longer to control, but to heal and build. The refugee species brought their diverse perspectives and technologies. And humanity, the species that had preserved their ancestors' legacy for millions of years, provided the blueprint for how different voices could work together in harmony. Sarah stood at a viewport, watching as ships from all three factions began the work of reconstruction. The Quantum Nexus had revealed its final secret. It wasn't just a weapon or a musical instrument, but a template for a new kind of civilization. You know, Marcus said, joining her at the viewport, when we first found that structure in Antarctica, I never imagined it would lead to this. Our ancestors did, Sarah replied. They knew that someday, humanity would need to remember not just how to fight, but how to bring peace, how to transform enemies into allies. Across the solar system, the defense grid remained active, but its purpose had changed. Now it served as a beacon, calling to other species who sought refuge, knowledge, or simply the chance to add their voice to the growing symphony of unified civilizations. Earth had become more than just humanity's home. It was the heart of a new galactic renaissance. The combined knowledge of the transformed harvesters, the diverse perspectives of the refugee species, and humanity's inherent adaptability were already producing innovations that would have been impossible for any one civilization alone. What happens now? General Rivera asked during the final meeting of the Provisional Alliance Council. Sarah looked at the assembled representatives, humans, refugees, and transformed harvesters, all working together. Now we build something new, something better than any of our civilizations could have created alone. As she spoke, the Quantum Nexus hummed with a new frequency, not a battle cry or even a victory song, but a harmony that represented the infinite possibilities of cooperation. It was the dawn of a new era, and its light would shine across the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity had not just saved itself, it had helped create a future where different species could retain their uniqueness while contributing to something greater than themselves. The galaxy would always face new challenges, new threats, but now it would face them together, each civilization adding its own voice to the eternal symphony of existence. And somewhere, Sarah liked to think, humanity's ancient ancestors were listening to the music of this new age and smiling. The end.